Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's dive into this because today we are looking at a truly staggering financial shift at one of world football's most historic and closely watched institutions, Liverpool FC. Just take a second to look at the sheer scale of that number, £1.65 billion. I mean, we're not talking about a simple jersey sponsorship here or a stadium naming rights contract. This figure represents a monumental investment injected directly into Liverpool FC today, courtesy of some of the wealthiest tech and business minds on the entire planet.
All right, Section 1, the billion-dollar investment.
And this brilliantly illustrates the stark new power dynamic in the Anfield boardroom. Fenway Sports Group, or FSG as we know them, has sold a 30% minority stake to a brand new consortium called 1892 Holdings. But the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that massive 70% chunk remaining on the board. FSG firmly retains majority ownership and day-to-day operational control. So they aren't packing their bags, they're just bringing in some incredibly well-funded partners.
Now, if you're wondering why an outside investment of this sheer magnitude was pretty much inevitable, you really just have to look at this explosive financial growth. Back in 2010, FSG bought Liverpool for just £300 million, basically pulling the club back from the brink. Fast forward to 2026, and this new deal values the entire club at an eye-watering £5.5 billion. To unlock that next level of global growth without selling the entire club outright, FSG simply had to leverage that massive valuation.
Moving on to Section 2, meet 1892 Holdings.
So exactly who is behind this massive influx of cash? Well, this consortium is made up of absolute heavyweight billionaires. Leading the entire deal is Amit Bhatia through 1892 Holdings, and he's actually stepping in as the club's new vice chair. Then, making global headlines is Amazon founder Jeff Bezos through K5 Sports. But interestingly, Bezos is a passive lead investor here. He's not actually going to sit on the board. You also have Eduardo and Elaine Saverin of Facebook fame, right alongside the middle family trusts. So while Bezos watches from afar, Bhatia and Elaine Saverin will be actively taking up board seats.
So, the crucial point is the attitude these investors are projecting right out of the gate. Amit Bhatia is leaning heavily into corporate optimism and respect for FSG's ongoing leadership. You'll notice they aren't framing this as a hostile takeover or a dramatic rescue mission. They're explicitly stating that they want to partner with the existing foundation to support continued success.
Which brings us to Section 3, why fans are anxious.
It really hooks your curiosity, right? You would assume that a sudden injection of £1.65 billion would have supporters literally singing in the streets, but instead we're seeing immediate apprehension from prominent grassroots fan groups like the Spirit of Shankly, who are out there actively demanding answers from the ownership. You see, fans are deeply protective of the club's soul. The Spirit of Shankly makes it perfectly clear that ownership isn't just about money, it's about custodianship. They're terrified of losing the club's unique identity. They point to similar sales at other clubs that ended up shifting football operations in ways the local fans absolutely hated. They demand absolute clarity on how much control these new tech investors will actually wield behind the scenes.
Let's move to and see how this builds, with Section 4, the ghost of 2007.
Because, this fan anxiety isn't just some random overreaction. It's deeply rooted in a tragic historical lesson that every single Liverpool supporter knows by heart. Let's quickly walk through this turbulent ownership history to give us that vital context of why outside billionaire investment immediately triggers alarm bells at Anfield. Back in 1991, David Moores became chairman, and that represented a local, family-run era. But in 2007, desperately needing cash, he sold to American investors Hicks and Gillette, a period that nearly destroyed the club outright. FSG swooped in to rescue them in 2010, which leads us to today's 2026 tech investment. For the fans, outside wealth always carries the ghost of 2007.
To briefly summarize that pain, the Moores family owned their stake for over half a century. They were literally part of the fabric of the city. But David Moores felt this immense, overwhelming pressure to secure external funding for a new stadium. His desperate search for cash led directly to the traumatic Hicks and Gillette era, where heavily leveraged debt almost forced the club into administration.
And this quote from David Moores in 2010, it's really the emotional core of this explainer. He carried immense regret over that 2007 sale for the rest of his life. Pleading with the owners he sold to stand aside with dignity serves as the enduring lesson for modern football custodianship. It is exactly why fans are incredibly skeptical the second they hear about new corporate consortiums buying into their club.
Finally, Section 5, the future of Anfield.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the practical reality of what this £1.65 billion deal actually changes on the ground. First off, this will have absolutely zero immediate impact on the summer transfer budget for the manager. FSG retains complete day-to-day operational control. The real shift here is strictly in the boardroom, with those new seats for Batila, Savarin, and Baum. The ultimate goal isn't to buy a flashy new striker tomorrow. It's to unlock massive long-term commercial opportunities in tech and Asian markets, building aggressively on Liverpool's record £703 million annual revenue.
FSG President Mike Gordon delivered this carefully worded statement to address those exact fan concerns. By stating that the consortium shares their philosophy and appreciation for what makes Liverpool special, FSG is actively trying to reassure the fan base that 1892 Holdings completely respects the club's unique, working-class culture. Which leaves us with this final, incredibly provocative thought to consider. In an era where valuations hit £5.5 billion, can billionaire tech consortiums truly grow a historic club's global empire without sacrificing its local soul? We've seen the staggering financial data today, and we've unpacked the deeply rooted historical emotion of the fans. Now we all get to watch exactly how this grand experiment unfolds at Anfield. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it gave you a crystal clear picture of what's really happening behind the scenes.